Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my second video on the UFC 244. Now obviously the fight's over and done with, but there's been a lot of trash talk and rumours going around since then, which we're going to get to in a moment, but I just want to give you a quick recap on the actual fight, which, you know, somewhat was disappointing, to be honest, in terms of the ending, how it went. But one thing I will say, congratulations to these two creating such a hype and buzz for this event, bearing in mind there was a brand new championship and title that just started off as an initial, you know, random challenge, and it actually became the second biggest pay-per-view event of all time for UFC, second to that of the famous Conor McGregor and Khabib fight. So well done, guys. You guys definitely have got a lot more popularity now, and it was exciting. Now, we're all shocked. I'm shocked as well. You know, I had my predictions on Diaz, as did many other people. Funny enough, some people actually betted on him and they lost, and Diaz said he's going to help them with their rent as they lost so much money. But, you know, from the very offset of the first round, you know, Masvidal, he showed that he was there to win. He started off by landing an elbow and then a head kick to Diaz, which actually opened up Diaz's eye from which he had from a previous fight with Pettis, if you remember me covering that fight before. You know, and this obviously caused some problems for Diaz straight away, and was obviously being monitored by the ref and the doctor. Now going into the second round, Masvidal continued to land the assaults onto Diaz, body shots like body kicks, lots of hooks, you know, very big hooks, which were quite clearly taking their toll on Diaz. Now we know Diaz and Masvidal are hard men, and they keep going, and they'll keep fighting until they literally can't breathe anymore. This is like Fight Club style, you know. And just there you saw that obviously Diaz was trying to recover briefly in that moment, because, you know, he's trying to pace himself, and I don't think he was expecting the level of assault that he was receiving from Masvidal. And, you know, again, just here you look, he's absolutely dominating Diaz, and the efficiency and the accuracy of his hits are very, very impressive. And you know, I'd done my research into him, and obviously I watched his fights for Masvidal, but I really didn't think going up against someone like Diaz he would be so dominant and so powerful. And yeah, it was a real shock to us all. Obviously going into the third round, this is where Masvidal managed to get on top of Diaz, and he lands some really good ground and pound on him, you know, proper assault. And at this point, Diaz's eye is looking awful. It's actually his eyebrow, should I mention, that looked like it was hanging off. And, you know, when you're watching this fight, of course, you're going to think it's UFC. It's what they expect to be. It's hard. It's a rough fight. But the doctor has a duty of care. And looking at the eye, he decides to call the fight off in the third round. So we don't actually reach the fourth round officially, because the doctor says that's it. He's taken too much abuse, and I'm fearful if there's going to be permanent damage there, so I'm stopping the fight. Now, obviously, lots of boos occurred. People were hating. There was lots of controversy in the crowd and in and around the Octagon. But looking back at the old footage and the photos, you know, I think the doctor made the right call. It's just a real shame, because, you know, this was such a big fight, and we had such high hopes for more. But it's what happens in sport, and doctors have a duty of care in all sports, and even in UFC, even though it is classed as human cage fighting, human cockfighting, it is what it is. So well done to Masvidal. You've definitely caused a stir in the industry, and I think the haters will keep on hating you, but they can't really deny your greatness as an athlete and as a fighter. Since the fight's happened, a lot of people are now calling out Masvidal, and, you know, these people for years and years have been saying they don't want to fight him, and now all of a sudden they're calling him out. So it just goes to show what a little bit of publicity can do, and when you show what you can actually do to people and what you are capable of in any sport, that people all of a sudden come out the woodworks. But they're also probably thinking about the money, and let's face it, this is a money sport. There's a lot of money involved in UFC, and someone also who's jumped on the bandwagon is NATE DIAZ, Nate's older brother. Now he's actually, you know, he's slated Masvidal for saying, you know, don't say you're going to baptise my younger brother. You know, that's disrespectful to me, and I'm not going to have that. and you know, Masvidal's rightfully saying, well, you know, what are you calling me out on? You know, you're saying to me you want to go for a walk. Do you mean like in a joking sense, we're going to go for a walk down the beach, or do you actually want to fight? And do you know who you're calling out? Now, obviously, with Nick, we know about his history and his success as a fighter, but he has been out of the game for a long time, and it's not really likely he's going to be able to come back into the sport. He even says in an interview that, you know, if it's going to happen, UFC will make it happen. You know, Dana and whatnot have to get involved and have to make it happen for me. And you know, I think that it would be very interesting to see if he came back and he took on Masvidal, because he's claiming that he's the real BMF. You know, like his younger brother. It was no disrespect to his younger brother, but he's saying, you know, it wasn't really a challenge to you. It should be me. So that's pretty cool and interesting that he's saying that. And maybe it's just you know, a little bit of gossip and you know, bad talking as always in this sort of sport and what people like. But I would really like to see Nick come back into the industry and start fighting again. But realistically, let's face it, Masvidal's next opponent is either going to be the division champion, 170-pound title, which is Kamaru Usman, and then obviously he's going against Colby Covington, which is UFC 245, going to be showed in Las Vegas on December the 14th this year. So, like I said, more than likely, that's the fight that's going to happen. And the winner of that fight is going to be taken on Masvidal next. But, as we know, all sorts of things can change. When there's enough money and enough interest there, people go for what they want. And they also go for the people's vote. So, I'm interested to see what you guys think on that one. Let me know in the comments below if you think it's going to be one of the guys I mentioned, whether it's going to be Usman or Covington, or do you think it's going to be Nick Diaz making a return and obviously taking on Masvidal? Or do you think Nate's actually going to get a shot at his rematch? Now, obviously, we know UFC aren't going to let him return until he's had a full, clean bit of health. And that might take some time because this eyebrow issue seems to be quite a big deal and a reoccurring problem. But obviously we don't know the full ins and outs of that injury as yet. Perhaps it could even be a lifelong thing and he might not be able to fight again. We'll just have to wait and see, and you know, fingers crossed that Diaz gets a full clean bit of health in the future, and Dana, UFC, the doctors and whatnot will all, you know, approve a rematch, and it's what we want to see. You know, it's going to be an epic rematch, and I think if Diaz, he has no more issues with that eyebrow, he can have a proper fight and a fair fight, because no one wants to see that. That was not a TKO, and it was a win obviously for Masvidal nonetheless, but who did dominate. But it wasn't a win like we want to see. We want to see a knockout, or we want to see some sort of submission and tap out, or you know, it's just something more spectacular, as silly as that sounds. You know, we want to be gobsmacked like we was in Masvidal's last fight with the quickest knockout in history with that flying kick. So we want to see something amazing, and it's going to all make us all feel like it was worth watching, because you know, that was kind of like, it was a good fight, but we want to see more still. So the rematch is needed, and if it doesn't happen, there's going to be an outcry for sure. So thanks for watching today's video, guys and girls. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please remember to like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. And just want to say thank you for everyone who has subscribed so far, and you know, I'm really happy that you're liking my videos. But anyway, I'm going to leave you this little video from Masvidal, his way of saying fuck you to the Diaz brothers, inspired by the one and only Scarface. Enjoy.
Fuck the fucking Diaz brothers! Fuck them all! I've buried those cockroaches!